everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of Restoring the Roar. I am your host, Alex Loosemore. I'm very excited to get this going and talk all things Lions. As you can see below, news came out today of a new alternate helmet coming this year, with uniforms hopefully coming in 2024. I'll show some ideas I saw online for helmets, kind of give you my thoughts on those. If you don't know, I am a writer for NFCNorthReport.com. So I'm going to do a little segment going over my weekly articles. So my one from last week was my 5 Cornerstone players to finish the rebuild with. So I'll go through that. Obviously, there's the major Jalen Ramsey trade rumors, with the Lions obviously being one of the front runners. So I'll discuss that. Whether I think we should trade for him, what I think it should cost, those kind of things. Also, Bobby Wagner is one of these front runners, or Detroit is one of the front runners for him. And we'll discuss that. Again, if I think we should sign him, what I think he should go for, those kind of decisions. There's rumors of the Lions playing in Germany this year. I'll discuss that in a little bit. Got some roster moves I think we should make. Try and free up a little more money, so cap casualties. Give you a few players I think the Lions should cut. And then anything else you guys want to discuss, put it in the comments, ask any questions. Any opinions you guys have, I'd love to discuss them with you. Before I get going, this show is sponsored by Wagner Apparel. So use the code word FOOBS15 as you see it below and get 15% on select items. The link is in the banner there. It's etsy.com/shop/Zagnif Apparel Design. They've got amazing products. We've got some coming for North Sports Dynasty here. And we'll show them off once we get them. I don't know if they've come in yet. I haven't heard from Andrew yet if they're in, but we'll discuss that in a little bit. All right, so I'm going to start off with the alternate helmet. So it just came out today. President Rod Wood announced that there will be a new alternate helmet coming. So obviously the silver with the blue stripe on it will still remain the same. But I got a couple different ideas I found online here. We'll start with this one. I'll remove the banner there. So I kind of like this one. The logo's a bit too big for me. I don't like it taking up the majority of the helmet. And personally, I want to go with the black helmet because I want black uniforms coming in 2024. I love the blue face mask fading into black there. And I really like that one. It's my second favorite. There's also this one, the all blue. I do quite like that with the silver face mask and everything. My favorite, though, and it's more of a custom helmet for if you're getting signatures or that kind of stuff, is the Lunar Eclipse helmets. I love the black with just the blue outlining, the blue stripe down the middle of the helmet. I really like those ones. Let me know what you guys think in the comments here. But yeah, this is by far my favorite. As soon as they said alternate helmets, I was like, please, these ones, because that's kind of the design I want for the jerseys. I want the all black jersey, the actual black numbering and lettering with just the blue outlining on it to make the letters and numbers. I'm kind of hoping they do that next year. And it would be cool if they announced it in 2024 at the draft, which most of us are planning to go to in the Let's Talk Football family. So that would be really cool. Just going to get to some of these comments here before I go to the next topic there. Sean Spencer, what's up, man? Is it ready to restore the roar? Yeah, actually, credit goes to Sean on this one. I don't know if he remembers this, but right when we first brought up the idea on NSD of doing the show, I said I wasn't sure of name ideas. Sean actually popped it into the comments. So props to Sean for the name here. Thank you for giving me the idea. Andrew, thank you for tuning in, says first. Whoever this is, I have no idea. But thank you for tuning in, says second. Sean, what's going on in the real Big D? Hopefully a big off season following into a big season. We'll see what's going on there. Somebody put nerds. First when the show was actually going. Clean your studio, yeesh. I just finished a move, so everything's still getting put away. We'll see if I can get it figured out in the next couple weeks here. Can Jared Goff maintain this with all his weapons? Actually, I've got a few reasons to bring up later why I think he can. The only real weapon he lost this year is, or like this offseason, is DJ Chark, is a free agent. I don't know if we're getting him back. I have no idea. I haven't heard one way or the other, but I'd be okay with getting him back. But the weapons are only going to get better, I think. A lot of these guys are young. They're still developing. So I'm hoping that that he can keep that up, because that offense was electrifying this year. Whoever the Facebook user is says Wagner. Yeah, they've got awesome stuff. Definitely go check them out if you haven't already. Andrew said, I'm trying to find them. Dude, me too. All day, as soon as I heard that, I was just like, okay, what can I find? Like, all over Twitter, all over Facebook, Instagram, just Google in general, like just trying to find something. Nothing's came out yet, but those were just a couple just like alternate ones that people had made and posted online. So I'm really hoping. Sid and Chris are the Facebook user. Okay. Sean, I hope so. I mean, everything he's put out this offseason, he's gone on shows like First Take, and he's been all over the place just kind of talking about what happened this year and kind of what his future is looking like. And every single thing has been all Detroit, where a lot of these guys, it's, well, we'll see what the future holds, or it's a business first and all that. He's been like, no, it's Detroit the entire way. I think it'll take somewhere around 4 or 5-ish million to keep him. We had him for $3 million a year before. He seems like that team guy, so I'm thinking 5. But I'm also just hoping it's that little. But I mean, leading the league in touchdowns and obviously breaking Barry Sanders' Lions touchdown record could warrant a bigger payday. We'll see what happens there. Andrew says, "Ooh, that black with the blue face mask, yeah." And the fact that it fades into the black there, with this one, yeah, I love that. I couldn't be happier with that, or the lunar eclipse, honestly. The black helmet, yeah, I couldn't agree more. The all blue does look like Kentucky. I thought of that earlier. Whether this is Sid or Chris, I'm not sure. Have they thought of changing the logo to a kitten? Maybe a few years ago when they were still like a bottom tier franchise, maybe even as early as like 2 years ago. But yeah, not anymore. I love the black one, but I like the first black one with the blue line. Yeah, I mean, that was all good. Yeah, whichever one of you. Yeah, I know. That the all black would look like Madden's Toronto team since Madden 12. Well, on the Lions, back in like the late 2010s, early 2011s, before they did all the color rush stuff, the Lions had a black alternate uniform with the black pants, and it was the blue and silver number. So it's Chris. Just by the tone here, it's definitely Chris that's commenting that. And I said not anymore because of the fact that it's building up. So relax there, Chris. All right. So talk to helmets. I'm going to go into the weekly article now. The 5 Cornerstone players to finish this rebuild with. Number 1, I mean, you see the hat. Obviously, it kind of fits in. Aiden Hutchinson. Number 2 in the Defensive Rookie of the Year race. You can argue 1, 2. I still thought it should go to Sauce Gardner, even though I wanted Hutchinson to get it. To me, Sauce, just being that arguably a top 5 corner already, warranted that without a doubt. But 9.5 sacks, 3 interceptions, a monster in the run game. This is absolutely somebody to build this franchise around. Let's see. Okay. The only team that was better than us the last couple of years was Georgia, but nice try. If that's Chris, go have a bath. Number 2 is Penei Sewell, the right tackle, 7th overall pick from a couple years ago. Only 2 sacks allowed in 2022, and I believe maybe like at most it was 10 penalties through the entire year. This guy's a monster. If you look at the draft when he was selected, there were multiple GMs that thought if there's one Hall of Fame player in this class, it was Penei. I loved him. I wasn't going that far, but he's already one of the best tackles, best right tackles, I should say. And by best, I mean top 10. Let's not clip this and say I'm saying he's the best right tackle. He's not. But easily top 10, maybe top 5. That's how far I'll push that. The guy's an animal. They've been, I mean, you saw it against the Vikings last year. They'll literally take the opportunity to give him the ball in fairly critical situations. This is a guy they absolutely believe in. I believe once Taylor Decker's gone, he'll slide to left tackle. But an absolute building block on this team. That grittiness, that attitude. If you remember his rookie year, 7 games into the season, he's going toe-to-toe with Aaron Donald after he had gone back-to-back weeks choking people. So I love his attitude, the grit he plays with. Penei Sewell is absolutely one of these guys for me. Number 3, I'm going another rookie from this past year. 6th-round pick, Malcolm Rodriguez. You see the stats there down below. 87 tackles, 1 sack, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. None of those numbers necessarily blow your mind, but it's a solid guy to build around. It's a guy with not much help around him in that linebacking core. It's still a very young group, and he was an off-the-ball linebacker, so let's settle down there. Somebody's aiming for the best setup award. It's got some work for sure, but we'll see what we can do with it. Zach Allen have more, yeah, and he might not even be on your team this year. And him and Myjai Sanders are still not better than, or still not good enough to replace J.J. Watt, and you cannot change my mind on that, Chris. But continuing on, I mean, his first game of the year, if you go on the, Newer Heights, the Kelsey podcast there, after week 1, Jason Kelsey's literally mentioning this guy on how good he was, how good he played. I mean, he also like judo threw Kelsey to the ground, but he's a solid player. Doesn't always fill the box score, but he's always in the right place. And for a 6th-round pick, he was a guy I said had 3rd-round talent, but just the fact that he's so small fell a couple rounds. But yeah, a monster in the run game. I absolutely love him and hope they continue to build around him. Number 4, obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And his stats were so good, they have to scroll the bottom. So 106 receptions, good for 7th in the league, 1 away from tying for top 5. 68 catches resulting in a first down, which is 5th in the league. 1,161 receiving yards, which is 11th and only 30 behind Sean Spencer's scary Terry McLaurin for 10th. 6 touchdowns, which is 24th in the league, but it still leads the Lions. All 10 players that caught one of Goff's 29 touchdown passes. The guy's an absolute weapon. They use him in the run game. Short passes, long passes. His run after the catch is unreal, and he's not that blazing 4.3, 4.2 speed guy. He's not very fast. He knows his angles. He knows how to break tackles, and he's very good at doing it. This is a solid receiver. And I think with Jameson Williams kind of going into that burner role, this is just going to open the offense up more for him. And if you get a legit tight end, I think this it makes him even more of a weapon. Another year with Jared Goff. I can't wait to see what happens with Amon-Ra this next year. But the Sun God is an absolute building block, a guy you have to keep in the building at all costs. And number 5, this might surprise some people, but to me it's Jared Goff. And you can go back and look at all the shows from up until November, like trade deadline time, where I was saying, yeah, okay, he's decent, but we'll cut him, we'll get the $20 million, and we'll move on. I mean, all he did was just light the world on fire in the second half of the season, finished top 10 in the majority of passing categories, obviously 6th in yards, tied for 5th in passing touchdowns, tied for 5th in quarterback rating. He's not leaving, and he's got a good quarterback now. So, I mean, Goff led the number 3 offense, and this is the offense under him. So 5th in points 3 points away from 4th place. 3rd in total yards, tied for 4th in yards per play. They had the fewest turnovers in the NFL, the 4th most first downs, tied for the 12th fewest penalties, and the percentage of drives ending in a score was 3rd at 43.4%. Number 1, I believe, was the Chiefs at like 40, something like 46%. So if you're going toe-to-toe with offenses like the Chiefs, the Bills, the Dolphins for a while there, I mean, you've got a pretty good offense, and with Goff, it's a lot easier to get worse than it is to get better. So, Goff is absolutely somebody we should keep around for the rest of his contract. It's like in the 10 to 15 range in highest salary coming into this year, highest cap hit, sorry. And he played like a top 10 quarterback. So I think he should absolutely be the guy. Would I like a quarterback with a stronger arm for Jameson Williams? Yes. But like I just said, it's a lot easier to get worse than it is to get better than Jared Goff. So let's keep him around for a couple more years and keep this number 3 offense rolling. So if you enjoyed that and want to see some of my other articles, you can go to nfcnorthreport.com. I just saw David here trade you Dak for Goff in the number 6. Not even remotely close. No, I wouldn't do Dak for Goff. I wouldn't. What Goff did for this offense, I wouldn't trade him for Dak, especially since Dak missed 4 to 6 games there and still tied for the league lead in interceptions. I'll pass. Thank you very much. All right. Now, speaking of a trade, let's get into some of this Jalen Ramsey trade talk. So, I mean, obviously he's getting traded. The Rams are going into this full rebuild here. Scott, if you're watching, sorry, but it's the truth. They're trying to shed all this cap. So, Jalen Ramsey is owed $17 million this year to the team that trades for him. He is signed through 2025, although I think he's going to want an extension right off the bat. Most of these star players do when they get traded. He makes, I believe, $18 million next year and $19.5 million in 2025, although 2025 is not guaranteed at all, so you could release him for that full amount. I think that $17 million, just based on what contracts are going for, he's worth it. I still believe he's top 3 corner. I think he's still that good. Would I trade the 6th overall pick that the Rams want for him? Not a chance. I don't think you should trade that 6th pick for anybody, really, unless to move up to get a younger rookie. Especially where the Lions are at now. Fill the holes with cheaper contracts. I mean, if you want to go get one of these bigger time players, go for it. And corner is the one position I would do it for. Everyone's talking like Jalen Ramsey's washed or he's old. He's 29. So he's in the middle, if not just entering his prime. Now, that being said, I don't want to give up too much for him. The hypothetical trade that I believe is fairly realistic is the Rams receive picks 18 and 48 from the Lions. To me, what I wanted to do is just pick 18 or 48 and 55. I'd rather do the 2 seconds than the first, honestly. But the fact they're asking for pick 6, I think it'll take 18 and 48. But then you get Ramsey and you still have that other pick in the second round at pick 36 and 55. And I think the Lions would probably extend him pretty soon after at close to $20 million a year. I don't like that part. If it came down to that, I probably wouldn't do it. But I mean, it's a phenomenal player. You're at the point where you can make a push here. The division is wide open at this point. I mean, we don't know who's going to be quarterback in Green Bay. We don't know if anybody's going to be able to play defense in Minnesota because you're going to have to get rid of a good chunk of the good players you already had to even get close to the cap. So we'll see what happens there. And Chicago is just starting their rebuild. They could cause some trouble this year, but not enough to win the division. So the division is wide open for the other 3 teams, I would say. Can you sign them long-term? Yeah. A lot of our money long-term isn't set up yet. Like, there's still a lot to play with there. But you've got an Amon-Ra extension in a couple years. You've got a Penei Sewell extension in a couple years. You've got, like, Rodriguez. If we sign Jeff Okudah back, his contract expires after this year. Like, there's a lot of young guys that got to get paid. The only guys really signed long-term are, Taylor Decker, our left tackle, for 3 more years. Frank Ragnow just had his extension, our center. There's not really anybody signed long term, which can be a little scary with these rebuilds, but I think it'll be okay, and we do have the ability to sign him long term. I kind of hope we don't give him the $20 million a year that he's probably going to be asking for. I guess speaking of another a former Ram here, the Bobby Wagner rumors. So, I mean, obviously he just got released a few days ago. The Lions are one of like 4 or 5 teams I've heard. I've heard Cincinnati. I've heard Vegas. I've heard us. I've heard going back to Seattle. There's quite a few teams. I believe the Giants as well were the other one I was hearing. It'll be interesting to see what his market value is. Because, I mean, the guy was a second-team All-Pro this past year. He is 32 years old, though. But he's still balled out. I wish I would have grabbed his stats here. I don't have them. But he was still a phenomenal linebacker. And I believe he's still got a couple more years left of it. I think 2 years is probably when I would say he starts to fall off a bit, but just the way he's been going, I think he'll be able to sustain it a little bit longer. So I went with the max amount that I would offer. Obviously, I'd want it cheaper than this, but 2 years, $22 million for a guy that's still playing at an All-Pro level. And this is obviously more if like Tremaine Edmonds is still the linebacker I'm looking at, but if he ends up getting the franchise tag here, which I think he's going to, or if he gets priced over $15 million, which he easily could in this free agent class, and I think it's to Wagner or Levante David, which are both realistic guys in free agency. Dallas, if you guys got the money to sign him, I could see it. Not the last part though. I don't know about that part. The Dallas signing though is something that I could absolutely see. As long as you can make the money work. So would I be happy at $11 million a year for him? Not necessarily. I think there's better ways to spend your money. You could also just draft a linebacker in the second round there if we don't trade all those picks away for Ramsey. Or at 18 even, depending on how the draft goes. But I can see them offering this to Wagner, and it has nothing to do with the Ram situation because Brad Holmes was gone before Wagner ever put on a Rams uniform, obviously. But he saw lots of them when he was playing in Seattle. So I think this is just one of those situations where it's a good player. You try to get them. And the one thing I'm talking about here is a lot of money coming in. I mean, those two right there, I just had $28 million coming in this next year. And there's an issue with that. We're currently sitting at just over $23 million. Doesn't include draft picks or anything. So now let's go into the cap casualties. The players, I guess I should say, I think they should cut. I think they'll cut maybe 2 of these guys, but I would throw in the third. The first one is defensive end Romeo Okwara, which is personally one of my favorite guys on the team. Was drafted late, like 5th or 6th round by the Giants. Was on their practice roster. We picked him up. And then a couple years ago had, 11 and a half, 12 and a half sacks. Had a good, breakout year. We give him the, 5-year, $55 million extension. And he goes and tears his Achilles last year. Comes back, and he was decent late in the season when he came back. He came back right before Thanksgiving. Ended up playing 3-4 games. Had a few sacks and was pressuring the quarterback a bit. But just when you look at that defensive line rotation, I mean, his younger brother, Julian Okwara, is coming into his own now. He's that athletic freak at the edge rusher position. And then, obviously, you've got Aiden Hutchinson with his 9.5 sacks. You have James Houston, who played from Thanksgiving on and had, I believe, 7.5, 8 sacks. So you've got guys that can get after the passer on the edge, and it saves $7.5 million of the $14.5 million that he's owed this year. I think they do it. I think that's enough money to convince them to move on from him. I would be sad to see him go personally, but like I said before, it is a business, and some of these decisions have to be made based on that. So I think the younger guys get the spots, and he goes. David, Achilles tear takes time, and some don't ever get back to 100%. I would absolutely try to restructure to keep him, and I hope they do. This is just me thinking of just trying to like get as much money as possible. If he's willing to do a restructure where you can get enough back, I would absolutely do it, because he had what, like, I think 3-4 sacks in those games that he played since Thanksgiving. But to me, it's just the younger guys are there. I think it might push him out, but if he restructures, I would absolutely keep him. My next player is on the offensive side of the ball. I'm not going to butcher the first name. So Big V, Vaitai, saved $6.5 million. I think we're going to get a different guy to play guard this year, whether it's Evan Brown. If we bring him back, he was our starting guard last year and played pretty well. He's a restricted free agent, so we'll see what he goes for this year. But getting rid of Vaitai saves $6.5 million. The other 5.9 goes into dead money. He's good when he's healthy. He's just not healthy very often. We didn't have him the entirety of last season. He had some sort of back injury in training camp and had back surgery, was out the entire year. You've got Jonah Jackson solidified at that left guard. He's a very good left guard. I could legitimately see them drafting a guy like Osiris Torrance, the guard from Florida, with that 18th pick if we still have it. I could see them re-signing Evan Brown and just locking him in at that right guard. There's a lot of different ways they could go where you don't really need Vaitai. He's, 31, 32, I believe. So he's getting up there a bit. And with that back injury, that's quite scary, especially for an offensive lineman. So that's a guy I would definitely move on from. We'll see if they do. That's an expensive guy competing for a spot. I would cut him and get that money back. And my last one is back on the defensive side, defensive end Charles Harris. Saves $4 million, and another $4 million goes to dead money. He was good in that 2021 season. On a rebuilding team, we just needed somebody to get pressure. He had like 7 sacks, I believe. Was decent enough. We gave him a decent extension. It was a little more than I wanted to give him personally. I wanted to give him another prove-it year. Signed him for like 3 years. Gave him a decent chunk of money. As you can see, the $8 million we owe him. All the same stuff applies for Maquara. It's just these younger guys are performing. They're pushing all these guys out of the way. The one guy I didn't even mention, because he's not really the pass rushing defensive end, he's more a run stopping guy, but Josh Pascal, our second round from last year, from Kentucky, was phenomenal in the run game, which is one spot that Aquara was good at now that I think about it. Just that big physical guy to kind of shut down the running lanes. But now that you've got Pascal and Hutchinson for that, you don't really need these guys. Harris kind of struggled to find his way this year, was in and out of the lineup due to injury. I don't really see a spot for him, especially if you can get $4 million back. Why not? Like, I give these young guys the ball, just let them go. Let them put their hand in the dirt and get after the quarterback. And let's see how it goes. We could have 2, if they keep it up like last year, we have 2 double-digit sack guys, I fully believe, next year. So, yeah, with all those moves, like I said before, the current cap space is about $23 million. That would put us at about $41 million. So you talk about the Ramsey trade cuts that down to $24 million, which is still basically you cut those guys and you get Ramsey. Then you're back pretty much right back to where you were. I think those cuts should happen regardless, or at least restructuring. Get some of the money back somehow. David brought up a good point with the restructuring, but I think something's got to be done with those contracts to get some of that money back to try and make some moves this offseason. All right, let's go back to some more of these rumors here. The Lions have been rumored to play in Germany this year. From what I saw, and I mean, obviously the schedule release is like 3 months away. Well, 2.5 months away, but middle of May, the schedule release comes out, but there's already rumors that the Lions are expected to play the Chiefs week 10 in Germany. I would be ecstatic about that. And not because I get to wake up at 7:30 in the morning and watch a Lions game. Not excited about that part, but I just don't want to go play them in Arrowhead this year. That's a road opponent for us. If we can not go to Arrowhead to play them, please, let's do that. David said, good stuff. If you change your mind about Dak, let me know and I'll talk to Jerry. I'm pretty locked into that decision, but thanks. My main reason, other than the Arrowhead factor for why I think the Lions should be excited for this, is the last few years we've had our bye week 5, and it's been at least the last 2 years, if not 3. But we always have that early bye. What you could do with this is you could give the Lions a week 11 bye. So you play week 10 in Germany, have the bye week 11, and then you come back and host the Thanksgiving game. So that gives rest for the Thursday game, which I know a lot of people are already pushing for the NFL to do. They may or may not be looking into it. I don't know. But I think this would be huge for the Lions specifically, because that would give you back-to-back primetime games. And I know primetime is technically like Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night, but I guess I should have said more big-time games, because the international game against the defending Super Bowl champions, that's a big-time game, especially for Lions fans who, other than Thanksgiving and the flex game to Sunday Night Football at the end of last season, we're used to watching in that 1 o'clock Eastern window. So this kind of gives us some difference in the schedule, breaks it up a bit. I do think we get more primetime games this year. And I think, especially playing the AFC West, had the NFC South been a little more competitive, sorry, Andrew, I think we would have had more primetime games there. But I think definitely playing the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Broncos with Sean Payton coming there, I believe there's more primetime games there. And yeah, that's another huge part of why it would be such a good thing for the NFL, is that's the top offense and the third best offense from last year. So if you want, like, new fans, when you show them the game, you want to show them high scoring games. That's what gets people locked in. That's the entertaining part of the games now. Like, you look at the Rams-Patriots Super Bowl from a few years ago where it was 13-9 or whatever. A lot of people consider that the worst Super Bowl ever. Me personally, I loved the chess match that happened there, but people like to see points scored. And you look at not only those two offenses, but those two defenses gave up a lot of points last year too. That's an exciting football game, just in general, to watch, whether you're a fan of either team or you're just a football fan. That would absolutely be a fun game to watch. That's all I got. So we're going to wrap it up here for this week. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you at the same time next week. Let's do the intro and get out of here.